Every time things get unstable in the Middle East, oil spikes, gas follows, and right on cue, people start thinking about buying an electric vehicle to save money on gas. However, this is just a short-term reaction to a very expensive long-term decision. Let me explain. I've actually lived every version of this. I've owned a gas guzzler, a Prius, a Tesla Model S, and now an electric pickup truck. So I've seen the numbers from every angle, and the answer is very consistent. Buying an EV to save money on gas doesn't really hold up, because this isn't just a gas decision, it's instead a big money decision. And most people don't realize what they're actually signing up for. They're trying to solve a $250 a month problem by taking on an additional $15,000 to $20,000 expense. So this is not optimization. This is just an overreaction. And here's the part that most people don't see. EVs don't remove the cost, they just front load it. So instead of asking, will this save me money on gas? The better question is, what's the cheapest way to drive without making a big financial mistake? Because this is what's really going to move the needle. When I had a gas guzzler, I was spending about $3,000 a year on gas. Then I switched to a Prius, and that dropped my annual gas to around $500 to $600 a year. So that difference alone paid for the car 4 years later. And here's what's even more interesting. I bought that Prius for about $11,000 a year. Drove it for 4 years, then sold it for around $10,500. So my depreciation was basically nothing. Now, to be fair, that was around 2020, which was during the global chip shortage. So car prices around this time were unusually high, especially used car prices. But even outside of that, hybrids, especially Priuses, tend to hold their value very well. And that was my experience. So here's the key. You don't need an EV to solve the gas problem. You can solve most of it with a $10,000 to $15,000 car that gets you 40 to 50 miles per gallon. That's where efficiency peaks, not at the extreme. Now, this is where most people go wrong. Once you go electric, yes, your fuel costs do go down, but your car costs jump significantly as well. And when you charge at home, the cost per mile often isn't that far off from a hybrid. So now the only thing that's left is the price difference of the car, which is usually an additional $15,000 to $20,000, sometimes even more than that. And that gap, in most cases, you don't end up making it back just from gas savings. Not unless you keep the car for a very long time, and more importantly, not unless you behave perfectly. That means no early upgrades, no changing your mind, and let's be honest, most people just don't operate that way. So now this isn't about gas anymore. It's about how you use your money. Now look, I had to be honest with myself on this. When I looked at moving to a Model S from my Prius, I tried to justify it the same way most people do. I'll save money on gas and all those type of stories that I told myself. But when I actually ran the numbers, it didn't work, not even close. So I stopped lying to myself. This wasn't a financial decision. It was really just a preference. I liked the car, the speed, the experience, and that was the real reason. And once I admitted that, the decision became simple. Look, there's nothing wrong with spending money as long as you first built your foundation, can afford it, and you're actually honest about why. Now, here's the part that almost nobody thinks about. That extra $15,000 to $20,000, that's not just money that you spent, that's money that could have been invested. Let's say you invested $700 a month instead of that car payment. Over time, that turns into tens of thousands of dollars, eventually six figures. That's how you build wealth, not by chasing small savings, but by avoiding big unnecessary expenses. Let me make this simple. Most people aren't trying to save money. They're trying to feel better about spending it. Gas feels expensive because you see it every week, but it's usually one of the smallest costs of owning a car. Depreciation is definitely bigger. The purchase price is obviously bigger, and insurance, sometimes it can be bigger. Gas just gets your attention. That's why a lot of people just overreact to it. So should you buy an EV to save on gas? No. That's not a strong enough reason. If you want one because you like it and you can afford it, fine. But don't confuse your preference with a financial strategy, because most people don't lose money from bad math. They lose it from good stories that they want to believe.